Hi and a very warm welcome. My name's Ian Mack, and in this session we're going to introduce Opera Stories, my new podcast where I'm going to take you, me and anybody else through the narratives, the stories, the background information for 60 of the world's most famous operas. Now, why am I doing that? Well, it's one of the major art forms, art genres, and something that I think that would be great to appreciate. Also, at the age of 60, I've realized that the vast majority of operas I haven't got a clue about. Don't know what the stories are. My dad's listened to operas his entire life, and I asked him recently, at the age of 91, I said, Dad, do you know the stories of any of the operas that you've been listening to all these decades? He said, no, I haven't got a clue. And there we have it. Why don't we know the stories? Why don't we know what they're about? We might know some of the music, but we might have no idea at all about what's really going on, unless, of course, we buy an expensive brochure in the theatre, only to discover that we haven't got time to read it because the music's already started and the lights are down. So with that in mind, it's a good idea to be briefed in advance, and also it's just part of our overall appreciation of the arts. Now, one of the things that I've done with my channel is you'll notice that I've narrated all 40 Shakespeare plays. And the reason I did that is at the beginning, I realized that there were at least 20 operas based on Shakespeare plays and at least another 20 operas that were related to Shakespeare plays. And there's probably many more because overall there are probably 3,000 plus operas out there. But I'm going to focus on the ones that were most likely to go and see. Now, take a deep breath. Back in the early 70s when I was a kid, my dad used to play the World of Italian Opera on vinyl from his little record player. And when I was playing in my bedroom, I used to listen to all of these songs. And over the years, I began to appreciate them. Knew nothing about them, of course. But then as I got older, I used to start to hear classical music and opera within rock music, within pop music, and I started to appreciate that there was a link. Let me give you an example. 1983 or so, Malcolm McLaren, the ex-manager of the Pistols, he brings out his album Fans, on which there is a track, Madam Butterfly. Beautiful track, which I still play to this day, and it's got some soprano work from obviously the opera Madame Butterfly, which I'll be covering in Opera Stories. Then later on we hear Nessun Dorma as part of the 1990 Football World Cup. Later still, we find classical music creeping into dance music, Barber's Adagio for strings, for example. Then we've got cinema. My God, one of my favorite films, Blade Runner, Vangelis. All right, it's not an opera, but the point I'm making is that you can't just divide artistic genres with clear delineated lines because they blur constantly. And so it would be wrong if we're going to educate ourselves in the arts if we don't have a good look at opera, what opera is about, and also what these narratives are. What are these stories? And of course, a lot of them are great stories, but perhaps the stories are not accessible to us when it is just portrayed through music, perhaps in a language that we don't speak, such as Italian or German or what have you. So understanding the narratives in English or whatever gives us a head start. And even if we don't ever go to see these operas, at least we know the general storyline. But what I'm hoping is that for myself and for you, once we feel comfortable with these narratives, then it opens the door to the theatre. It gives us an incentive to go and book a ticket, take a friend, sit down, and enjoy the spectacle that is opera. Now, a few years ago, I was a friend of the Royal Opera House in London for a year or two, and I did go and see La Bohème and a couple of other operas. And what I was amazed by or taken back by was the size of the stage, the production quality, the sets, the costumes, the acting, the singing. Unbelievable. years before that, with some friends, I went to see Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. Why? Because the opening sequence of music, "O Fortuna," was was used in an Old Spice advert from the 1970s. So I thought I'd give it a go. So there are lots of reasons why we can go and see opera, and why we can, but let's give ourselves a head start. Let's educate ourselves. Let's not be frightened by others. And of course, one of the reasons why I'm doing this channel is to make the arts accessible and take it away from the snobs, those that think it's just for a small minority of people. It isn't. This art form and all these art forms are for everyone. And it is that that drives me forward and makes me sit here for hours on end recording these videos, whether it be opera, ballet, Shakespeare, or what have you, so that we can all have a door open to us and we can appreciate the arts as something that's very accessible, very attainable, and very exciting, and something that enriches our own lives. So whether you're watching this and you're 18 years old, or whether you're watching this and you're 70 years old, the arts is for you. The arts is for all of us. And so in the coming podcast series, I hope you enjoy 60 operatic opera stories, and I hope that they help in some way to open that door and help in enriching all our lives going forward. And also, one final point I'll make is that the arts is struggling. It doesn't have great funding. The governments of the world are not funding the arts due to other priorities, and therefore it's our responsibilities to buy tickets, to go to theatres, and to support them, the actors, the musicians, the singers. Let's support them all, the back room staff, the set designers, the costumers. All of those people are earning a living, and they wouldn't earn any living, and we would not have our arts if we did not go in some way and support them. So it sounds like I'm evangelizing, but really what I want is for me, for you, and for all of us to say, do you know what? I didn't know much about opera, but I do now. And before I go, let's just add a little smidgen of history about where did opera come from. Well, it began in the late 1500s, the late 16th century Italy, where a group of scholars and magicians called the Florentine Camerata tried to recreate how they believed ancient Greek drama was performed. So what they did is they rejected complex Renaissance polyphony and favoured clear, expressive solo singing to project emotion. And this is what we see now in opera today. So what happened then is that this led to a recitative, which is a speech-like musical style. The first operas appeared around 1600, notably Jacopo Peri's Eurydice. And then opera truly took off with Claudio Monteverdi's Orfeo in 1607. With this, actually importantly, fused drama, melody and orchestra, setting a template that we now know today for opera as a powerful fusion of music and theatre. And that's something we should remember. When you're watching opera, you're not just watching somebody sing, you're watching them act, you're watching them tell a story. It is a highly disciplined, skilled art form, one of the high arts, in my view, of our civilization. And that's why I think that we owe it to ourselves to at least know something about opera.